Financial summary as at the 1st of September. The report reflects the recent budget revision that was put through in the prior ordinary meeting for the capital re-provision process. Fees and charges are currently more than the year-to-date budget. As referenced previously, has been a continued increase in development activity in the area. Also, holiday parks are experiencing high occupancy. That's somewhat offset by the airport revenue, as outlined in the report. That had improved around the June period, but has tapered back off again with some of the lockdowns throughout Australia. In the development of land space, we've currently settled one parcel of land and potential for a few more parcels to be settled in the near future, as outlined in our report later on. Just reiterating that we haven't provided for any budget yet this year for those sales, so any sales that are realised has a positive impact on our operating result this year. Materials and services are close to the year-to-date budget. Just worth noting that general fund actuals are trending higher, marginally higher than the budget. That's primarily due to the fact that we have paid a number of insurances, annual insurances, in the last month. Capital expenditure year-to-date 9.3 million, which is where we sort of expected to be at this point in the year. Just worth noting that the council has received 50% of the latest Works for Queensland allocation for the aquatic facility, totalling $6.5 million in the last month. Cash at reporting date was 163.4 million, which is close to where we expect cash to peak this financial year. Obviously, in the next few months, there'll be significant outlays, both operational and capital expenses. Rates outstanding at reporting date were 42.2 million, noting that the rates due date was just after the reporting date. Hence, the balance right now is significantly less than that. There has been, again, a continual improvement in our rate collection. The rates outstanding as at today are lower than this time last year. Any questions?
Thanks, Simon. Questions or comments? No? All good. Thank you. Next item is for noting is the minutes of the last, the Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting. Not the last one, the one before last. Any questions on that item? From May? No? And the next item then is a specialised supplier arrangement for staff recruitment. And who's going to run that one? Christine? You got next two?
Councillors. Item G2 is a specialised supplier for Seek Limited, which is the staff recruitment advertising. A specialised supplier recommendation is put before council as using alternative supplier to advertise for staff recruitment potentially introduces a risk to council by not receiving the highest calibre of applicants. Seek Limited has a dominating market share, proven results, and the ability to integrate with council's talent management system, Scout, as we call it. So for that reason, the recommendation put towards council is that council enter into an arrangement with Seek pursuant to section 235 of the local government regulation, and that arrangement be in place for a period of 3 years.
Thanks, Christine. Any comments or questions, councillors? No? All good.
The next item is G3, which is the sale of 3 lots at Heritage Oaks Estate in Meadows. The lots have previously been offered for sale as their surplus to council's needs. They were offered for sale by auction, but that was not successful and the lots were passed in. The offers that council's received on each of those lots are for market value, and for that reason the recommendation is that council apply the exception contained in section 236(1)AI of the local government regulation for each of those 3 lots, and that the CEO be authorised to enter into a contract of sale with the buyers and finalise the sale of those lots.
Thanks, Christine. Comments or questions? No? All good, thank you.
Mr. CEO, just on that matter, is it correct that there's only 3 lots left?
Yes, there is 3 lots left.
After this sale.
After these sales go through. in heritage. Stuart, welcome.
Good morning, councillors. I've got 2 reports here in this section that are similar, both specialised supplier arrangements, both seeking to continue current arrangements. The first is for parts and service for our Komatsu equipment. We've got 5 planned items in-house that are Komatsu brand. So as per the recommendation that's in the report, we're seeking to utilise the specialised supplier provisions in the regulation to deal exclusively with Komatsu Australia, proprietary limited for parts and repairs of our Komatsu equipment for a period of 3 years.
Thanks, Stuart. Any questions or comments? Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. There's no supplier here in Bundaberg. The nearest one is in Gladstone. So I understand the idea of supporting, a company that's actually on the ground and has stock and things like that. This company's not in Bundaberg. What's stopping us from ordering online?
I suppose there's 2 things. One is that online we would be getting from Komatsu, and potentially we'd be getting from Komatsu Gladstone, being the local supplier anyway. But it's partly also building the relationship with the people who would be servicing our equipment. So it's not just parts; it's also repairs and services. So some of it is they send a tradesman here to do work on our equipment, and some of it is we send our gear to their workshop. So it's not just about buying the parts, but it's also about building the relationship with the company that we're working with.
So in the interim 3 years that we're locked into a contract with a Gladstone firm, if somebody in Bundaberg was to take on a Komatsu dealership, we wouldn't be able to deal with them.
We do have a standard condition in our contracts that we can terminate on our terms. I think it's with 6 months' notice or something like that. But it would be extremely unlikely that Komatsu would open up a new dealership. They are very few and far between. To some extent, I think we're a bit lucky to have one in Gladstone.
Thank you very much.
Councillor McPhee?
Both of my questions just got answered.
Oh, okay. Councillor Trevor?
I think looking at the spend, Stuart, would it not be true to say that the major part of those spends is not maintenance, is capital purchase?
No, this isn't for capital purchase. So the major part there would be, I expect, if we had a something like a transmission or a final drive rebuild or something that might have been 53.
2019 to be still maintenance?
Yeah, maintenance or repairs or services. It's they're big yellow plant, and any repairs are significant costs. You can easily do a $20,000 or $30,000 item just on one single repair.
I just wonder aloud if we're incurring that sort of maintenance cost 2019, that we maybe should be looking at some of those bigger ticket items, a plan getting rid of them sooner.
Absolutely, and I think what you're seeing there is that we weren't spending enough money on plant replacement, which we have corrected the last couple of years, and we've got still 2 more years of accelerated spending to catch up.
I just want to make that point to my fellow councillors that when you look at that, it is important that we continue that capital renewal program.
Any other questions on H1? No? Councillor Mitchell's going to vacate for H2.
So H2 is along similar lines. We have quite a number of items of John Deere equipment in our fleet. RDO are the authorised dealers for this territory. So similarly to the last one, we're looking to continue past practices or current practice to deal exclusively with the authorised service agent.
Thanks, Stuart. Questions or comments? No? All good? Thank you. We'll get Councillor Mitchell back. And then we'll move on to community and cultural sponsorship. Are you doing this one, Kath?
This item's 01, sponsorship of Bundaberg Broadcasters Carols by Candlelight event. I'm assuming councillors will be relatively familiar with this event. It's been running for a long time, in fact 62 years. And the event was cancelled like a lot of other events last year due to COVID. They're proposing to put it on again this year and have written into council seeking some financial support because there are extra costs, I guess, given the COVID environment we're operating in. So Bundy Broadcasters, who are delivering the event, have sought council's or requested council's interest in providing sponsorship to the value of $5,000 towards the event, and staff have recommended that under our sponsorship and partnership program. Happy to take any questions.
How's that relative to past years, Kevin?
Previous years, that's a very good question, Councillor Cooper. I just asked the staff that myself and I haven't got a response yet. I believe previously we just provided the grounds for free, but I'll actually circulate once I get the response back if there was any financial contribution previously.
Thank you. Councillor McPhee.
Will we be looking at doing that as well this year, Gav, providing waiving the fees for the facility?
Yeah, yes.
And can you just explain to me why this is coming under the partnerships and sponsorship program as opposed to the community services program, because that's up to 5,000?
Yeah, I guess the nature of the grant. So rather than a grant for the process, they've sought sponsorship, where we get, part of the program is, council's logo will be displayed. We get some naming rights, responsibilities, and those sort of things. So for some things, particularly sporting and I guess event type processes, we use a sponsorship program rather than a grant. Grants are usually for community groups to deliver services, or in some cases they might deliver it and they want it to cover the costs. With some of these things, they put forward a sponsorship program where they are seeking sponsors, and we take up a certain level of sponsorship. So we do that for things like the fruit and veggie growers ball. We've provided sponsorship for that. We've done the same for Cane to Coral, and some other things where we take on a sponsorship rather than provide a grant.
And do all of those ones that come through the partnerships and sponsorship program, do they all come before council?
They do, yeah. So the community grants don't, but the sponsorships do, because effectively council's deciding whether it wants its logo, I guess, and other things associated with the event or not. Yeah. And I guess part of it is usually that our marketing get involved then, because we are taking up a sponsorship in I guess, promoting it or working with the event organisers to make sure that we provide the logos and those sort of things.
Yeah. And does the group that's applying under the partnerships and sponsorship program, do they have an application, like a set application? It doesn't go through the Smarty Grants platform?
No, they usually just put in a request and then it's assessed, and then we'll have some discussions with them about what potentially it is, and so what does that sponsorship involve, how is council going to be reflected in it, and so they've sort of put that together to sort of say that our logo will go in there, any promotions or advertising they do will reflect the fact that council's a partner. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Honor.
Yeah, question in regard to the reference to sponsorship. Does that mean that whenever we use that media source, there has to be a declaration made that council is a sponsor of that of programs that are run by Bundaberg Broadcasters Limited? Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of things on television where promoters and that promote something through a radio station, and it has to be declared that it's a, we sort of have a partnership with them through a sponsorship program.
they sign an agreement with us. So as part of this program, if it's approved, they sign effectively a sponsorship agreement. So, and that, outlines, I guess, council's expectations in regards to what that sponsorship means. So, they shouldn't be displaying council in a bad light. We're providing the support that should be acknowledged in anything they put out regarding the event. And sometimes the event organisers themselves will put in particular things to say what that sponsorship also entitles the sponsor to. So we might, they might invite an elected rep or the mayor to do an opening of the event or something like that. Some cases there's some other ancillary process associated with it, so they'll do a launch. They might ask for council representation at the launch as well. So,
in regards to something that may happen where there's an injury at an event, council is exempt from that.
Yeah, no, we are not the event organiser or the event deliverer. We are purely and simply a sponsor. So public liability's got to be held by the event organisers. They're running it all. They have all that obligation. We're purely and simply saying that we're supporting it and providing a financial contribution in this particular case towards it. So that's the sum total of our legal responsibility or liability.
Thanks, Gav. Any other questions?
Okay, the next item is O2. So we've had a request via Bundaberg Police wanting to put on what they call RIDER. So it's a Road Safety Youth Driver Awareness Program. It's supported by Bundaberg Rotary Club locally. They run it in August and they target Year 10 students in trying to make them, I guess, road safety aware. They've asked for use of the recreational precinct, so it's August 2022, so next year, to do this particular element. So there's a little bit of, I guess, in-classroom road safety education, and they do a little bit in a car where they explain, obviously how motor vehicle operates. So you've got young kids who are about to go through their learner's permit process. And so the police run this program, and they've done it successfully in other locations. So they've approached council, written in a letter, seeking our support by way of waiving of the fees for the recreational precinct. They're aware of the fact, and I think the fees that we've listed that would be applicable for this particular event would amount to just over $2,000 for a 5-day event, and that's all they're proposing to have. They've indicated they'll be flexible. They're aware of the fact that if they were to get it for free, we're not going to bump other events that are paid, so they're working around that. So they've already given that commitment. So the staff have assessed it. We believe probably it's a really positive initiative, good local road safety one, particularly for young kids locally, because that's who it's targeted at. And so the officers have recommended that we waive that fee, and working with them to find a suitable time in August next year when we can hold it without any clashes with other events. Have you taken any questions?
Councillors, this report is largely an update on a previous item that you considered. Previously we sought your endorsement to undertake negotiations to develop the Wide Bay Burnett Urban Water Alliance, which is affectionately known as WABA. We've done some work since then and are at the point where we're now seeking endorsement from council to formalise our involvement in that. The negotiations with the other councils have been successful. So we're seeking council's confirmation of our inclusion in WABA under the terms of reference that have been attached to the report, and that our branch manager water services be endorsed as the first chair of WABA. So largely this WABA is to replace the formal arrangement that was part of WebRock.
Thanks, Stuart. Questions or comments?
Obviously, the water services section have been taking notice of the new alliance with Great Britain, America and Australia to try and get a really snazzy name up.
Yeah, perhaps there is something better than WABA, but we haven't come up with anything.
No joke there, Mr. Mayor? No? Okay. Thanks, Stuart. All right, that's all we have in... yep. And then we've got 3 items in confidential that we'll consider. consider.